Ode to a Nightingale is a poem which carries similar themes as Ode on a Grecian. You will find Keats struggling with same concepts. You will find him obsessed with the same ideas. You will find him talking about the same things as he did in Ode on a Grecian Urn. But in this poem, he selects a different object. In that previous poem, he was struck by the beauty of the Grecian urn. In this poem, he is struck by the beauty of the nightingale's song. It is a song of this bird. It is a song of nightingale, which I've already told you. It is what we call bulbul in Urdu. It is a song of the nightingale that haunts him and that raises his emotions so high that he is led on. He's led on, and he wants to fly with the bird and become part of its world. So he selects another object in this poem, and it is that object that he becomes becomes focused to. He focuses with all his energies, with all his emotions, with all his intensity. He focuses on this object now. He focuses on the nightingale and on the singing of the nightingale and on the world of the nightingale, and all else is left behind. We shall again notice how through his negative capability he achieves that poetic, that creative energy. He achieves that blissful state where he can forget the worries, and he feels that he can create a blissful piece of art. So as you shall see, the nightingale is a symbol of immortality for the poet. Just like the world of the urn represented the immortal world, the nightingale and its world represents the immortality. And it is timeless and it is eternal. The nightingale, like the work of art, is also timeless and it is eternal. Men and generations of men will come and go. We die and we are replaced by our children. So, and the cycle continues. But he says the nightingale, although the bird also dies and is replaced by the next generations, but he says that the nightingale's song lives on. Through its song, the nightingale was special for people of the older generation. It's special for our generation, and it will be special for the next generation. So in that way, it is immortal. It is in the world of the nightingale is timeless. Time stops there. It is a beautiful world. So he will once again project himself into that beautiful world. He creates an imaginary world, projects himself in body and spirit, but forgets about his own body, forgets about his own spirit, forgets that he exists, and forgets about his own problems and worries, forgets about his real world, and only focuses with all his energy on the world of beauty. Keats distinguishes between two kinds of worlds: the external material world and the creative imaginary world. Now this is significant, and it's important that you understand this. I explained to you when I was explaining the Ode on a Grecian Urn to you also. Keats talks about two kinds of worlds. One is the external, this material world of ours, and the other is the creative and the imaginary world. The imaginary world that is created by the poet. This material world is finite. It is a slave of time. There are categories here of past, present and future, while the imaginary world, he says, it is not bounded by the limits of time and space. It is eternal and limitless. The same thing that I told you in the previous poem also. So the material world is finite and it is bounded by time, but the imaginary world has no limits. It is eternal and it is timeless. The same themes of truth and beauty you shall see are explored in this poem, and somewhat the pattern is also the same. The style is also similar. It is written in 8 stanzas. The poem is composed in 8 stanzas of 10 lines each. But you shall see that the 8th line in every stanza is shorter. If you take a look at all stanzas, you shall see that the 8th line in every stanza is shorter. So that is a trimeter, all the other lines are pentameter. Let us begin now with stanza 1 then. In the first stanza, Keats says, "My heart aches, and a drowsy numbness pains my sense, as though of hemlock I had drunk, or emptied some dull opiate to the drains 1 minute past, and Lethe wards had sunk." He says, my heart aches. My heart aches. In these lines, he's describing to you the effects of the song on him. Poet is out maybe in a garden, or he's imagining it, but he's listening to the song of the nightingale. He is listening to the song of the beautiful bird. He cannot see the bird. He can only hear the song of the bird, just like Shelley was inspired by the song of the skylark. Here, Keats is inspired by the song of the nightingale. The nightingale is invisible. Keats cannot see where it is, but he can hear the beautiful voice of the bird, and he says that my heart aches. Ache means pain. He says, my heart is full of pain. Pain. But you shall see this pain is not the pain that we think of. It is a pain due to extreme happiness. As he says, and a drowsy numbness pains my sense. And he says, my senses are getting drowsy. Drowsiness is the feeling of when you feel sleepy and you're not active. So he says, drowsy, I feel my senses going numb. My senses becoming drowsy. So drowsy that he says, pains my sense. It's a painful feeling. He says, this drowsiness, this numbness is painful. As though of hemlock I had drunk. He says, I feel these aches and this numbness. He says, I feel these, and it appears as if I have drunk a hemlock. Hemlock was a poison which was given to Socrates, a great Greek philosopher, who was charged for corrupting the youth, the Greek youth. So he was sentenced to imprisonment, and there he was given wine in which was poisoned, as a result of which he died. So he says, I feel like I have drunk the hemlock. I have drunk this poisonous wine, this poisonous drink, because I feel pain in my heart, and I feel my senses becoming numb and drowsy. Or he says, I have emptied some dull opiate to the drains 1 minute past. Or he says, maybe I have drunk some dull opiate. Opium, you know, is a drug that we take that is associated with opium is a drug that is associated with a state of semi-consciousness. So he says, it looks like I have taken that drug, and as a result of which Lethe wards had sunk. As a result of which he says, it seems that I have sunk into this river Lethe. River Lethe is a river in Greek mythology. It is a river in the underworld which is called the river of forgetfulness, and anyone who drinks from it, anyone who take bath from it, he forgets everything. This is why it is called a river of forgetfulness. So Keats is saying that it seems that I have taken opium and then have sunk into the river Lethe, because I am forgetting everything. I'm forgetting where I am, I'm forgetting my surroundings, I'm forgetting who I am. So that state of forgetfulness is upon me. 'Tis not through envy of thy happy lot, but being too happy in thine happiness. Now he shifts his mood. He says, I am not envy because you are happy. He's still listening to the song of the nightingale. He says, you are singing, you are happy, you are in a happy mood, that is why you are singing. But he says, I am not envious of your happiness. I am not jealous of your happiness. But I feel too happy for your happiness. I am happy for your sake. I am happy in your happiness. So this is the effect of that happy song on Keats. And then he says that thou light-winged dryad of the trees, in some melodious plot of beechen green and shadows numberless, singest of summer in full-throated ease. He says that thou, that you, O you light-winged dryad of the trees, a light-winged dryad. He's comparing it to a female spirit which lives in the trees, which has got wings. It's a small fairy. These are small fairies, like you see, like the fairies that you see in that movie for kids, where you have Peter Pan. So you have those small fairies who've got wings at their backs, and they flutter about in the trees. So he says he's using a metaphor for this bird nightingale. He's calling it, he's comparing it to a light-winged dryad that lives in the trees, because the nightingale is also hidden from his views. It is totally hidden in some trees. So he says, in some melodious plot of beechen green and shadows numberless. You are singing from and hidden from view because you are singing from some beechen trees, from the beech green trees, and the shadows numberless and in thick shades. And you are singing of summer in full-throated ease. Full-throated is a reference to the intensity of her song. He says you are singing at the top of your voice, but with ease. There is no tension. So he says the whole space is filled up with your voice, although you are hidden from view. You are hidden in beech trees, or you're hidden in the thick shadows of the bushes and the trees, but only your song can be heard. Then stanza 2. In the second stanza, he carries the same idea forward. He says, oh, for a draught of vintage that had been cool a long age in the deep delved earth, tasting of flora and the country green, dance and provincial song and sunburnt mirth. Now he shifts the scene for you. He was talking about the nightingale first. Now he takes you to southern part of France. Now he takes you to those sunny parts of France near the Mediterranean Sea. He's taking you to those sunny spots which were the holiday spots for the Romans, which were the holiday spots for the Caesars, for the kings, who used to come there in the summer season and enjoy and bathe in the sun. He says, oh, for a draught of vintage. The vintage is a wine which is made from grapes. He says, I long for that wine which has been cool in a long age in a deep delved earth. I want that wine. I want to taste. I want a taste of that wine, which has been cool for a long time in the depths of the earth. You know that after the wine has been, these grapes are kept under the earth for a long time, and then wine is made. The juice from the juices, the wine is made. The acid, in fact, from the acid, the wine is made. Then the wine itself is kept in cool, dark cellars, normally made in the basements of the houses for a long time. And the older it is, the intenser it is. So he's talking about that strong wine, which has been stored long enough in the cooling earth. He says, I am thinking, I am reminded of that strong wine which tastes of flora, of the flowers and the country green, which has a taste of the flowers and the green pastures of, and dance and song of provincial. Provincial refers to the southern France. And sunburnt, referring to the sunshine and the sunny. So he says that strong wine would remind, would take him, when he tastes that wine, he's reminded of the beauties of the southern France. The same effect does this song of Nightingale have upon him, that he can create, he's taken into that blissful state, into that imaginary happy state. Oh, for a beaker full of warm south, full of the true, the blushful hippocrene, with beaded bubbles winking at the brim and purple-stained mouth. Oh, for a beaker full of the warm south. Now he's talking about wine which is full, with the glass that is full to the brim with wine. He says, full of the true, the blushful hippocrene. Hippocrene, it is the fountain of the nine muses of poetry. The muses that most poets pay tribute to, or they seek inspiration from before they write poetry. Milton did that, Spenser does that. Milton invokes, the Christian god, but Spenser invokes these goddesses of the Greek myth. And countless other poets, before they would begin their poems, they would invoke help of these goddesses of, or called muses of poetry. So, but Hippocrene is a fountain. It's a fountain for these muses, and it erupted where the Pegasus, which is a flying horse, it is a horse which has got wings at its back, and Pegasus, when it landed on the earth, where it dug his hoofs, it is there where the fountain erupted. So he says, it's like a beaker. So he wants a beaker which is full to the brim, bubbling at the top, like a fountain, like the fountain which is bursting forth from the earth. With beaded bubbles, he says, winking at the brim, and purple stained mouth. And it is so strong that when you've drunk it, it leaves a purple stain on your mouth. That I might drink and leave the world unseen, and with thee fade away into the forest dim. So he says, I want to taste that wine, and then I want to leave this world unseen, and with thee fade away into the forest dim. So he's longing, desiring to leave this world and to enter into the world of the Nightingale. He wants to get drunk. He wants the help of a strong wine. He wants this, the strong wine which is kept under the earth, kept and cool for a long time under the earth. He wants the strong wine which is coming out of the earth from the fountain of the Hippocrene. He wants that strong wine which can make him oblivious of his surroundings, which can make him oblivious of the world around him, and which can take him into the other world, into his world of imagination. And it is, in fact, you know, that under the effect of wine, we've become forgetful of our surroundings, and the imaginary world becomes more real. The real world becomes unreal. So in the first stanza, you saw that he was talking about the hemlock, the poison that was given to the Socrates, and then he talks about the opium. He talks about the opium drug, and because he feels that, you know, he's forgetting his surroundings. He feels that, you know, he is sunk into some kind of forgetfulness. So he is talking about things, talking about drugs. He's talking about the Lethe River, the river of forgetfulness. He's talking about hemlock, which takes away the pains of this world. Socrates was relieved of the misery and the pain of this world, and his soul was, united to the real world. So in the same way, he's talking about these chemicals and the wine, the strong wine which is made in France, and he wants to seek their help to leave this world and to enter into the imaginary world where all will be blissful, where all will be peaceful, where all will be happy. So it is that escape that he wants. The escape from the real world, the escape from this material world into the other world, which is the imaginary world, which is the creative world, and it is in that world that beauty and truth can be united, and it is in that world that all the truths are become bare for him, and he can see into the reality of the things like Wordsworth describes to you. So I have looked at the two stanzas with you in this lecture from Ode to a Nightingale. So stanza 3. In this stanza we shall see that Keats is going to take the same idea further on. He says, "Fade far away, dissolve and quite forget what thou among the leaves hast never known, the weariness, the fever and the fret, here, where men sit and hear each other groan." Now, you see his longing to leave this material world. He's longing to leave this material world, and he's longing to fade away into that imaginary world, into the world of the nightingale here. He says, fade far away, dissolve. I want to be dissolved. This is his negative capability, in fact. The poet, the ability of the poet, the ability of Keats to negate his self, to negate his personality, and to negate his reality, and to become part solely, wholly, and completely of the other world. So he says, I want to fade away into the other world, fade away from here and into the other world. I want to dissolve completely into the other world, become part of it, and I want to quite forget what thou among the leaves hast never known. So he says a bird is happy, it is singing happily because it has never tasted fear, it has never tasted death, it has never tasted miseries, it has never tasted weariness, it has never tasted men talking poorly, badly about each other. So he says the bird has not seen these things that we mortals have had to experience. And what are they? He tells you in the last two lines. He says the weariness, the fever and the fret. Here, these things here, the weariness is the tiredness, the fever of this world, which always grips us with tension and worries, what to do and what not to do, and the fret. The fret also has to do with the materialism and the tensions and the worries that are the result of it. He says we are fretting over here, we bother over small things here. So these are the problems of the world, of the man in this world. He says that where men sit and hear each other groan, so all they can hear, all that they have to talk to each other is about their pain, is about their hurts, is about their miseries. Where palsy shakes a few sad last grey hairs, where youth grows pale and spectre thin and dies. He says in this world, palsy, it's a disease in old age which causes involuntary movements of the muscles. The muscles become uncontrollable, and the old person, must have noticed, is shaky. His limbs and arms and hands, they shake violently. They're not in control. So he says where palsy shakes a few, where the youth fades away and we become old, and a few sad last grey hairs. This is again a reference to our to old age or baldness, the last grey hairs. There are few hair on his left on his head. So baldness increases, beauty dies, youth dies, where youth grows pale and spectre thin and dies. And he says, we don't stay young here forever. The youth grows pale, then spectre thin, and then he completely dies. So he says this external world is an enemy of man. We're not happy here. It does not give us happiness. It does not give us comfort. It does not console us. It is our enemy. Where but to think is to be full of sorrow and leaden-eyed despairs, where beauty cannot keep her lustrous eyes, or new love pine at them beyond tomorrow. He says, where but to think is to be full of sorrow. He says, even to think in this world causes sorrow. It results in sorrow. And leaden, he's talking about eyelids, eyes which are heavy or burdened with the weight of this world, with the worries of this world. He says, leaden, our eyes are as heavy as lead due to the despairs, due to the burdens, due to the worries, due to the miseries of this earth. Where beauty cannot keep her lustrous eyes, where beauty is not forever, beauty is not lasting, beauty is not immortal, because it cannot keep the luster, the glow in her eyes. We will not stay young forever. The eyes become dim, and eventually the light in the eyes dies away completely. So he says the beauty cannot never stay on forever in this world, or new love pine at them beyond tomorrow. He says, or he says, love, he says, is always new here. It is always changing. It is fickle. Love here is not constant. So today this love is for someone, and tomorrow it is for someone else. So this pining, there is fickleness of love. There is no constancy in love. So Keats is openly talking about his concept, his idea of beauty and love that he spoke of in Ode on a Grecian, also. He's telling you how beauty and love are both short-lived in this man-made world, in this external world, in this material world of man. Beauty and love are both temporary. Youth is also temporary. The three themes that he touches upon in Ode on a Grecian, and also how youth dies in this world, how beauty is temporary in this world, how love is short-lived in this world. Just as beauty ends, love is also fickle. So Keats is repeating the same themes in this poem also, and we see that in the third stanza he despairs and he is saddened by the sad reality of our world. And from the next stanza we shall see that he escapes entirely into the world of the nightingale, and it is there that he finds real happiness.